Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're discussing the effects that slavery had on gender roles in the Black American community. Um, did it contribute to issues? Today, we're going to deal with a little social cognitive theory, a little environmental learning, a little classical conditioning, and we're going to discuss a little bit of B.F. Skinner, his theories to express how um, slavery was intentionally used to, well, when I say slavery, I mean chattel slavery, was intentionally used to reverse gender roles. Um, um, you know, we're going to get into it, and we may talk a little bit about agendas within aimed towards our community during the 60s and 70s. Um, you know, But before we even get started, let's look at some. I want to kind of examine some theories um, of to try to let's set a framework to understand why, how not why, how the institution of chattel slavery um, helped conditioned like a gender role reversal. So during the chattel slavery issue, you have to keep in mind that this is going to be hard to hear. Nikki, what word should I use for RAPE? I know that gets flagged on. Let me bring Nikki. Come on up. I got a question for you. What word would you use for um when you come up? Tell me. But men were. Hey, Nikki.
Hello, Professor.
Hey, give me a alternate word because I know RAPE would not be okay with
Just just use the letters S and A together. SA.
SA.
That's what
Okay.
we're yeah.
Oh, okay. Sexual. I got it. So men were SA'd through the chattel slavery system. Um, but first, let's look at environmental learning. So, with respect to environmental learning, um, Vygotsky, there's a guy named Vygotsky from Russia that wrote a theory called zone of proximal development. We call it ZPD in the world of psychology. ZPD is he's one of my favorite theorists. We now everybody in here that's lived in the inner city or lived in the hood for 2 weeks knows ZPD. That's a real fancy way of saying making it. You remember your mama used to say when you were going to school and a bully was beating your ass, she would say, find somebody and make an example out of them. Give me a thumbs up if y'all remember that. Make an example out of somebody. My auntie and them used to say, you better make an example out of somebody. Well, that's zone of proximal development. That's what we call environmental learning. We learn vicariously through what happens to others. So that when grandmama told you to make an example out of somebody, or mom and them told you to make an example out of somebody, that was you going and um, beating the mess out of somebody who messed with you, and that word travels faster than the speed of light. That man, Professor A beat the mess out that dude. That dude was making fun of Professor A, and Professor A whooped his ass. So for the rest of my your duration in that environment, you have proximally taught a whole group of people um, that not to mess with you, right? Well, let's apply that theory to the system of chattel slavery. Unfortunately, masculinity, male masculinity during slavery was uh, was a big no-no. It could not exist during the chattel slavery system. Um, the ZPD was used to affect the masses and let them know that masculinity was unacceptable. So as our brother Tariq says, the slave masters would find the most masculine. Um, I don't really like the term buck, but I'm gonna work with it today. The masculine buck, as it were, and make an example out of him by, to quote our sister Nikki, essaying him. Got it in front of everybody. That's a hard thing to think about. And what did that do? That created a zone of proximal development where people learned, where enslaved blacks learned that if you show masculinity, you will be handled, you will be essayed. Um, right? So, with that being said, that creates a learning environment that erases masculinity. Now, unfortunately, to really, and I was just telling one of my clients today, um, the way you change behavior, the really effective way to change behavior for those of you that have kids is negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement at the same time. So, um, in the case of slavery, negative reinforcement is okay, this dude acting like a man. He's not supposed to act like a man. He's not supposed to protect his woman. He's not supposed to go see about his kids. He's not supposed to display an air of masculinity. So you take him out in front of everybody. It's really important, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody to see this. It has to be a spectacle. Um, and you essay them. But just essaying somebody, just a negative reinforcement, whooping, beating, or essaying is never enough to seal the deal. To seal the deal, not only do you have to negatively reinforce them, you have to positive reinforce. This is a system. This is a system that I wish black people across the country would really learn. Um, you have to add negative and positive. So let me give a good example. We're going to go to our brother Claude Anderson to look at meritorious manumission because while masculine men on the plantation were being essayed, uh, certain behaviors, the behavior, excuse me, the behavior of masculinity was being essayed. The behavior of um, uh, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. The behaviors of non-masculine behavior were meritoriously manumitted. Now that is a claim for reparations because meritorious manumission was um, set in law. According to Dr. Claude Anderson, meritorious manumission was a legal act of freeing a slave for good deeds as defined by national public policy. Meritorious manumission could be granted to a slave who distinguished himself by saving the life of a white master, inventing a new medicine, or snitching on fellow slaves. So there you have it. If a fellow slave was acting masculine and you snitched on him, you got an extra butter biscuit. You got um, a higher position, a position in the house, or in some cases, you got freed. So now we're looking at a historical framework for culture of for cultural roles, gender roles within within American Black society. Now, last but not least, let's flip the script and look at females within this during chattel slavery. Wani, what we established is that black males during this chattel slave system, if they showed any masculinity, they were taken outside in front of everybody in a full spectacle, and we're using the term essayed, assaulted, you know. So could you tell us how are women treated? To my understanding, black women were given masculine roles, right? Was it a role reversal? Would you say that?
It, I wouldn't say reversal, but women were put in the fields to work very hard along with their children, very tiny children, toddlers, were also picking cotton. So, yeah, they were trying to exploit anybody. I mean, our children had to hit the ground running like zebras
Wow.
in terms of working in the field. So in that way, our gender roles were not very defined because we were expected to work as hard as a man in the field. But I'm sure that the women did the same, you know, like the cooking and the kind of domestic stuff. But I think we have more of an egalitarian system where we just work together to get everything done. And I think we bonded together and protected each other and really didn't have the same types of gender division that we may have had in Africa, that we may have had as indigenous
Mm,
people, because their roles are very defined. And as if if we were English, there would be a very clear definition of what people did. So we were treated differently than every other group around us.
Hmm. Yes, we were. Wani brings up a really good point. She said egalitarian. So Black America was egalitarian. We must never forget that. I feel like it's so much I want to say that the ideology of male dominance is a European concept, and it's all based on psychology. It's based on nature versus nurture. What makes a pit bull a pit bull? Is a pit bull a violent, evil dog? I got a pit bull right now that's playing with toys and rolling around licking people. Her name is Piglet. She's not violent. She's a neighborhood elderly puppy. What makes a pit bull violent is the nurture. Now, the pit bull's nature is it's a very strong, powerful dog. She ripped up, right? But nature plus the argument is nature versus nurture. The nature versus nurture argument says what makes somebody somebody? Is it their nature or is it nurture? It's the combination thereof. So you take a pit bull that's a very powerful dog and you make it mean, you got yourself a problem. The environment makes it mean. You tie it to the back porch and you just don't feed it. You starve it to death. In fact, I had students years ago that were fighting dogs, which is why I rescued my dogs. They were trying to fight dogs. That's why I bought the doggy. And they were telling me my doggy is very small. She's almost like a midget in the pit bull world. She's a runt. And I was like, well, what they were talking about, they were fighting. I was like, man, that's cruel. You know that's wrong, right? Yeah, yes, sir, but I'm making money. And I said, well, what you gonna do with that little one? That little one can't fight. They said they were gonna use the little one to make the bigger ones mean, basically bait her, like let them eat her alive. And what I heard them say is they were gonna starve the two most. Yeah, it's hard to hear, y'all, but they was gonna starve the two most aggressive muscular males. Start like not feed them for a week, just give them water. And then when she got big enough, they're gonna throw her in the cage with one of them and teach him how to kill because he's gonna literally eat her because he's hungry. That's a nature versus nurture argument. Now, how's that fit into what we're talking about? The nurturing that we received during the chattel slavery was one to eradicate masculine roles, and like our sister Wani said, it may have been a byproduct, but our sisters, our dear sisters and children were put in the field to do hard work. Um, and that kind of shifts into a masculine type of role. So we're dealing with byproducts in 2025 from the chattel slavery system that needs to be addressed. That's the claim for reparations. We not only do we first need money, cash payment for the chattel slave system, we need and land, cash payment and land. We're going to also need institutions. We're going to need some type of psychological debriefing because, like our dear sister Shaharzad Ali said, we were never debriefed on this chattel slavery system. We never received a, hey, y'all, let's come in the room. In the military, when you go on a mission, like let's say an Air Force pilot, when they go on a mission and they bomb an area, when they fly back and land, the first thing they do is debrief before they even get to go take a shower. They got to, while it's fresh on their mind, they debrief to say, hey, what did you hit? What did you see? There's an intelligence officer there recording everything they say. Debriefing is important. And ladies and gentlemen, we need to debrief. And that's kind of like what me, Wani, and Nikki's function is in this podcast, is to try to debrief you on what you're looking at. Let me give you a good example of that, and I'm gonna digress. I know I'm talking a lot. I feel like I have a lot to say on this issue. Um, when you look at uh, uh, black males, black American males, there's been a stereotype that's it's being eradicated. It's like dying, but there was a stereotype when I was a child in the '90s that black men are afraid of their own kids. They run away from their kids, and I know a good bit of people who fit that stereotype. But Shaharzad Ali brought up a really good point with nature versus nurture. And this is sad as hell what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say it. Shaharzad, I'm having a hard time saying her name today. Shaharzad Ali pointed out a fact. Shaharzad said that during the slave trade, when black men, fathered a baby, if he showed any type of affection towards that baby, or in a lot of cases were caught looking at that baby was instantaneously sold to another family intentionally, and that was done to break up the family, um, the cultural cohesion of the Black American family. So Shahrazad said, as a defense mechanism, yeah, we're talking about gender roles and effects of slavery. As a defense mechanism during the chattel slave trade, Black men would actively avoid their newborn children for fear of the child being sold and peep at it from afar. I can only wonder, did that affect the behaviors I saw in the 90s in Birmingham of brothers having a child and uh and avoiding a child and not knowing why, like, why don't you go see your baby? I don't even know, man. I don't want to go over there. I wonder, do you think it's possible that that's do y'all think that's possible that that's a conditioning from slavery, or you think I'm stretching?
Um, I'm going to say this. The overall experience that we've had with European slavers is that that's what they do with their own children,
Facts.
remember? They're always giving them to the nanny and making these jokes like, why are you bringing it in here, calling it
Yeah.
to the nanny. Why are you bringing it in here? And the kid is like, I'm going to see my daddy. He's in the library. Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, get this thing out of here. They don't want to bond. And they didn't. When you read some of what Frederick Douglass was saying, his mother, he only saw her twice. They
Wow.
immediately got rid of her. And he saw her once while he was an adult or something like this. They didn't want him to have any kind of relationship with his mother, didn't want him to bond with her. So that makes perfect sense that they would stop us from bonding because they didn't want you sad, picking cotton. They don't want you to have feelings about the children that you're creating, even though everything has feelings about the children that they're creating, animals as well. They didn't want us to experience that, but that's what they were doing. So uh, if we're under two systems of people who don't want bonding. We're under the system of slaves not allowed to bond, and we're also influenced by the European who didn't want to bond with his own children. Now, I'm just saying this about English people, right? I'm not aware of the bonding techniques between other Europeans, but I'll check that out because I know for a fact that English people love to send their children to boarding school and then they wonder why these children come back home and bump them off. They don't have a relationship with you, so why would they care?
Wow.
I mean, I've seen these boarding school children turn on their parents with ease. They have a hostility toward these people because they're deep. Number one, they didn't bond with them, and number two, they've been cold and dismissive, and they want us to do that, and it's just really not us. It's not within us to do that.
Wow, what an interesting perspective, guys. I can count on Wani Spots for taking things a whole nother direction that I never comprehended. What was hidden right in plain sight for me is that's European culture, well, particularly English culture, child abandonment. One of my professor friends was telling me about Christopher Columbus's his children. Didn't Christopher Columbus's children write something awful about him, like he was just a deadbeat parent, awful.
Yes. He's another one that never bonded. He's one that they said the only thing we know about our father is he's Jewish. They made, they didn't know anything about the guy. And when you look at it, the whole Western Hemisphere is filled with ethnicities of fathered by people that dumped them.
Wow.
The whole Western Hemisphere has this missing European bloodline on the male side. So they don't want to bond with their children. They don't want to bond with their illegitimate, in quotation marks, children. They don't want to bond with their own children. And they don't even want to bond with their wives. They viewed them as just, trophies. Just sit there and shut up. Don't try to have a bank account. Don't try to read. Don't vote. They didn't want to bond with anyone. That's their perspective on these things.
Wani, how poignant. When Wani was talking, ladies and gentlemen, I went straight in my mind to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, ISIS Papers, Chapter 2, where she says the origin of alienation anxiety, and narcissism. Dr. Weldon says that um, Europeans have a psychology of alienation. According to Dr. Welsing, she says, I'm looking for a highlight. Okay. She says alienation is the very same she says, quote, alienation is the very same dynamic that pushes human beings away from the respectful and harmonious relationships with the physical environment, leading to pollution and destruction of the planet. Further in the book, she argues that the lack of melanin, and I want y'all to hear this well. I've read this about 100 times, but I can't get enough of it because it's very fascinating. Um, Given Dr. Welsing's brilliance and understanding as a scientist, I don't know much about science, so it kind of really intrigues me. On page 238, Dr. Welsing says the neuropeptide melanin, the absence of this black pigment in the skin and other aspects of the nervous system, critically impairs the depth sensitivity of the nervous system and the ability to tune in with the total spectrum of energy frequencies in the universe. The deficiency of sensory awareness sets the stage for imbalance, absence of harmony, which is chaos and destruction. Y'all heard that? She said, which is evil. So evil isn't evil for evil's sake. She's saying evil is the lack of being able to perceive the reality of the all. Isn't that deep?
Yes.
Not be,
And
I'm not evil because I want to kill you. Ah, ha, 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 ha. I'm evil because I can't understand good.
another thing is their inability and their disconnection from nature, which
Right.
causes a whole lot of other problems. They're not able to bond with nature and even work with it. Like some countries, they build within the landscape and they try to use harmony. They even have certain sciences like feng shui
Like the
that
Japanese, yes.
mhm,
Hmm.
that use they kind of blend the architecture in with the landscape, so it has a certain aesthetic appeal, but they don't do that. They're disconnected from everything. They're disconnected from their children, and they have to make an effort to do everything. They have to say, we're going to conserve, uh, nature and the animals. We're going to make time, we're going to have quality time with our children, but they set everything up to not have quality time. They set everything up so that it is disconnected and you don't have quality time, and you have to now make that time. And we're unfortunately, we're American, and we're influenced by things that the dominant society in America does. So we have to regain our own perspectives of how we want to interact with nature and children.
How fascinating, Wani. One of my heroes is somebody y'all never heard of, and I've never read out of her book because her book is $2,000, and I haven't quite got my funds up to buy it. Is Dr.
We
Shar?
got to put our money together.
We got to put
We got
our
to put
money
our money
together.
together.
And ladies and gentlemen, if y'all find Dr. Sharshi McIntyre's only book, The Criminalization of a Race, holler at me and let's talk. But Dr. Sharshi McIntyre, when she was living, said something very fascinating with respect to what Wani was saying. She said the African man goes up to the tree, but he needs it for firewood, and he prays for the tree. He holds the tree. He says, I'm going to take your life, but your life is going to preserve the life of my daughter. It's going to preserve the life of my family." And after a ceremony, he cuts the tree down. He kills it. He said, Dr. Sharshi McIntyre said the Native American walks up to the tree, has a ceremony for the tree, explains to the tree that I'm going to cut you and I'm going to make a canoe out of you. And that canoe is going to last thousands of years and safely get his family across the river. And then he has a ceremony, he pours libation and he cuts the tree down and he kills the tree. Dr. Sharshi McIntyre said the European walks up to the tree with a knife and says, chomp, and says, "What is just a tree?" That's what Wani was saying. She's saying it's lack of understanding. And just like Dr. Welson said, it's lack of perception. Could it be melanin? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, I'm a social scientist.
They don't bond.
There,
They didn't bond with nature, they don't bond with their children, and they don't bond with their significant others.
wow.
Yeah, they see their women as property. They see it as some type of a exchange or something like that. You know, that started with white people to go into African countries and kill the elephants and do the poacher exercises A lot of the people on a continent weren't doing that. They seem to bond with the wild animals a little bit better than their white counterparts. Yes, they do a lot of uh, disgusting things now, but back then they seemed to have a different type of relationship with the lions and with the elephants. It wasn't about killing them. Elephants, they're very sensitive animals, and you
I
see them.
love elephants, by the way.
Oh, I love them. I love them. They
When I
mourn.
get
They
rich,
mourn
when
their
I get a rich,
children.
I'm gonna get an elephant. Hmm.
Oh, cool.
Hey, can
They
I have
mourn
an
their
Um,
elephant?
children.
but they put a price, the European in Africa, they put a price on those animals' heads. So the African wasn't necessarily running around, killing for, what is it, ivory
Hmm.
and certain skins. They put a price on those animals. Yes, they killed them to eat, but they were not like mass murdering animals that have ivory tusk because there was no price on it. They came
Mm.
over there, they wanted to shoot everything, put it up on the wall. That's how they enjoy the animal. This is back to the census issue. You can't just look at the mountain and enjoy it, the beauty of it. You've
Wow.
got to
Yes.
climb up it. You can't just look at the elephant. I mean, I've seen elephants close up, and I just was like, I was just stunned. I was stunned. It was so close. But I don't need to jump up on top of it, gallop around on it, you shoot it, put the head up on my wall. These are things that I don't need to enjoy the elephant.
You don't need to take that extra step. Ooh, I'm not gonna say on a recorded space what that's making me think of, but that's making me think of a certain disorder wherein you do extreme things because you can't sense you have a heart.
Frontal lobe issues.
Yeah, that is weird. I've never connected these dots before, but we connecting them today. When when y'all were talking about that need for sensory stimulation, you made
Hmm.
it think of when me and my cousins went to Costa Rica last year. We went to this gorgeous friggin' hold on one second. I'm gonna put it in the jumbotron. Um, gorgeous waterfall with jagged rock everywhere. I mean, it was, we walked about 10 miles or 11 miles. I mean, people were passing out uphill in Costa Rica, which has 110% humidity. And we finally get to this waterfall. And as gorgeous as it is, it was jagged rock everywhere. And my couple of my cousins married white men, white people in my family. A couple of my cousins married a white guys, really nice guys. And they start walking up the mountain, and I was like, why are they walking up the waterfall? They got to the top of the waterfall and jump. I mean, I'm telling you, I wanted to put my hands over my eyes because he was jumping. He
Yes.
jumped off the waterfall. He could have bust his head wide open on the damn,
They don't
like
care as long as they're, evil Knievel in it. And they will get
it
you
has some.
killed. They will get you killed because oh, yeah, you don't want to do this? No.
I'm about to put this. Hold on, look at this. And by the way, I'm gonna put a jungle kitty in there. That's a beautiful
A
picture.
jungle kitty,
Yeah, there was a kitty in the middle of Costa Rica just
a
chilling in the
domestic
jungle.
cat.
Oh yeah, I don't understand it. What was he doing there?
I don't know.
People like Kitty. People were like, Kitty, why are you here?
What was it? Gray striped?
He's white and gray. You see the kitty?
No, hold on.
Jumbotron.
It's not in there yet.
Oh, it's showing on my end. Damn jungle kitty. But you see, if y'all look at those, somebody liked it, Wani. I think it's in there. If y'all look at that's the waterfall, like just jagged rock. Does that look safe to jump off of? And they did it. It was almost as if, from my perception, part of the excitement was I could die from this. So is it the fact that knowing that you have a real, maybe a 33% chance of losing your life? Is it if you survive, you feel more grateful. I can't
There
comprehend it,
is a
Wandy.
thrill in jumping out of a plane and that type of thing. But I understand that, but some of the things that they do when you're traveling, you see them, climbing up things they're not supposed to climb up, usually a pyramid, and they'll take the fine. They give them fines, and sometimes if they even jail them for doing that, but they can't control themselves. They cannot control
Wow.
themselves.
That's interesting. Hey, Debo, you came up earlier. Did you have something to add?
I do. Thank you. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day and Happy New Year's to everyone.
Happy New
Thank
Year's.
you. It's my first time on the stage, but I wanted to answer the question to my best ability. This is a great topic. Did slavery affect FBA gender roles? I'll answer that first. I look at slavery as being the system of racism, white supremacy, and how I love the way Neely Fuller described it. He said, "We are attempted mothers, we are attempted fathers, attempted wives, attempted daughters." So, yeah, it did definitely affect us. The slavery is just a part of the system of white supremacy racism. So, it definitely affected us. And I will ask anyone under the system of white supremacy racism, when have Black people are non white, classified as non white, been able to practice gender roles? When have we been effective to be able to complete that? And that would be like the question, because I haven't seen it. Maybe someone else has, but
You mean in America?
well, globally, well, the system is global to me. But yeah, we'll just say stick with America.
Yeah, I mean, in some of these isolated areas, you can still see the gender roles. Pretty much the men go hunting, the women deal with food preparation and caring for kids. So we can see that it's out there, but yeah, they pretty much flipped the whole thing around for anyone touched by the West, white supremacy. Yeah, they pretty much flipped all the gender roles upside down.
Well, I would be interested, and this is kind of a Wani, anthropology question. While y'all were talking, I was trying to look for the closest thing to utopian society that I can think of, and I concluded that the most perfect human society would be the oldest human society because they were so in tune with the universe that they're still around. So I thought about the Khoisan and the Battois. So isn't the Khoisan and Battois kind of egalitarian?
Yes, they work together and they do have the gender roles, but they still work together and they don't abuse each other. And it's partially because they're abused by others. They're abused by other Africans and they are abused by colonists, obviously, and they're challenged all the time. So they know that they rely on each other to survive. And that's just been their general attitude anyway, um, to just care for each other. And they know that they really have to do that because they've been victimized.
That's Monty. That's so interesting. Wow, I need to get out a notepad. God dang, the sparks are flying tonight, guys. Did y'all just hear that? Wani just basically identified that the Khoisan and the Battois and the Black American slave have the same problem. We were forced to work together because everybody's trying to kill us. We got the same problems. Hell, we need to go meet some Battois and some Khoisan. Let's book a flight.
You'll like it.
I want to meet
But
some
stay away
Khoisan.
from those villagers, though. No, 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 no,
Mm-mm.
Where are the Khoisan and Batu people located at, if you don't mind me asking?
no.
Wani?
The Batwa are in Central Africa. The Khoisan, they started out in we'll say they're in Southern Africa, for the most part, but they're in South Africa. But they move around and they can have a pretty good range, but mostly Southern Africa. And because they cross borders, they become enemies of other groups. And this has been going on for thousands of years. Any group who wants to be a traditionalist, who wants to be a hunter gatherer, and cross over borders, They just view them as a problem, and they have maintained their right to have the range that they have for their nomadic needs, and it clashes with others.
Interesting. I was like dead serious. Like we need to figure out a way to meet up with Khoisan or and or Batois because we have a lot in common. We're persecuted and oh shit, here goes another commonality. We're indigenous to the land that we're being persecuted on. Hello,
Mm-hmm.
maggots. What's on your mind, man?
Regarding the gender roles thing, I just wanted to touch on how even though there is this pressure in this society to still perform gender norms at like a high level, um, yeah, I mean it's true for black people. Only certain tribes ever really did that, and it just varies from tribe to tribe. You know what I'm saying? But I think one of the reasons why some people just kind of seek it out, being able to perform that, is because, well, one reason I guess would be maybe I heard this somewhere, but that historically the more patriarchal societies and tribes could basically like conquer and subjugate the matriarchal societies.
Yeah, yeah. You're dealing with from and our sister Wanda can feel free to correct me. I know that's more up your alley, but of expertise and scholarship. But from my readings, I back to nature versus nurture. Um, the European, from my readings, nurtured nurtured during the young Dryas. So you have um, a time period where it's just freezing freaking cold, lack of crops, lack of things to eat, and only the strong, most ferocious survive. So
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about it's a reference to it brings me back to that book. It's a book called
the
Iceman
Iceman
Inheritance.
inheritance, yes, that.
We're talking about how it psychopathy under extreme conditions, like it's partially genetic, and what's gonna increase the genetic frequency of it in a population is certain extreme environments, or if you take people who were put through that type of extreme environment, right?
Hmm.
Who are basically their lives are just lives of lack, like they just don't have anything going, and then they eventually come in contact with people who are, as they migrate, they come in contact with the people who have a more prosperous society. If they come in contact with each other, then that's just what it's gonna be.
Well, it's more. But you're familiar with the book, but from what I read into it was, in European society, during the Young Dryas, um, masculine muscle mass, um, it was more valuable during that cold because it provided more muscle, more protection, and what I'm trying to say, I know I'm rambling, but what I'm trying to say is, Michael, is it Michael Bradley? I think it's Dr. Michael Bradley wrote the book, but the author of the book posited that that's why Europeans tend to be patriarchal because during their nurturing period, muscle was more valuable. The more men you had, the higher probability of survival you had. This is going to be graphic and hard to hear, but it's scientifically sound and evidence based. Anthropologists and archaeologists went through that period and looking for evidence, and they were shocked to not find. They were freaked out because they didn't find any infants. Now when you study any historical period, you find plenty of bones of infants because children don't have a strong immune system as adults. Children obviously are more delicate than adults, therefore children die at a higher rate than adults. So they were just shocked. No kids, what does that mean? Towards the end of the research project, they found several bones of children, of infants rather, and every last one of them had teeth marks on them. So during the Younger Dryas, Europeans were eating children. Like it was a very ferocious time period. So that attitude of survival encodes in your DNA. I'm gonna tell the story that I've told several times, but we have new people on stage. Um, Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, did a study years ago where they wanted to see if DNA had records. So they studied a bird in the Amazon, a little helpless bird that kept getting eaten alive because the Amazon up under the canopy is real ferocious. And the bird over time said, "You know what? I'm a bird." And I have wings. So it flew to the top of the canopies. And guess what? For 10,000 years, it had no natural predator um, until a hawk got lost and said, "What is that?" Now it had one natural predator. So this hawk, this bird of prey, would fly into the sun and attack the hatchlings, I guess because they taste good, they're tender or whatnot. And the last thing the hatchlings would see before his brother or sister got eaten was a dark shadow get cast because, the birds flying out of the sun get it. So Harvard grad students and scientists took those eggs and hatched them in a lab in Cambridge. A grad student put a light in front of them and then put a piece of paper in front of the light. And guess what happened? The hatchlings freaked out. So the question then becomes, how did they know to freak out? They never been to the Amazon. They never seen a hawk. The conclusion is or was that there's record encoded in your DNA that makes you who you are. So nature is a part of the argument, but it fits in because the nurture is what changed your nature. You got it? So given the fact that Harvard proved that that is a thing, um, it's fair to assume that people that have ancestry that links to that young Adrias have a high level of aggression. Um, so you put aggressive people around the non-aggressive people, and you got a problem. Dr. John Henry Clark said that the European and the African should have never met because their temperament is too different. In conclusion, Dr. Clark said that the African brought the European to the table for dinner, and the African became the meal. I digress.
The Tyrell was actually supposed to go right after Debo. So when you're done, let's let Tyrell go.
Right on.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Go
Tyrell.
ahead, Tyrell.
brother Tyrell. Can you hear us?
Unmute
Tyrell.
yourself, Tyrell. Okay, well, guess
I
whoever.
got
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
Peace, power to everybody in the room.
Peace.
Yeah, I just was gonna chime in on the fact of it's interesting that you brought up how they found babies with teeth marks in them. They,
Babies, and I meant to, forgot to mention, and women,
I was
female
about to say,
bones. Yep.
yeah, I've done a lot of research on things like that throughout Europe, and they have many, many grave sites of this nature throughout Europe. They recently found one in Poland. You can Google it. They found one in Poland. I want to say it's Poland if I remember reading correctly. But that was the same circumstances, and it was a mass grave. It was like thousands of individuals, and they found that they all had and teeth and fire marks. So the bones were scorched, and human teeth marks from other humans cannibalizing. And it's also interesting that you was talking about their connection with nature, and this is why they have through my research, this is why they have a terrible connection with nature. And if you look at history, throughout history, have every land they have ever touched, they have destroyed not only the human population, but the fauna, the natural fauna population. The book Moby Dick is based off of a real event that happened in history. And speaking on the real history behind the book Moby Dick, um, this ship of European whalers, they went to an island. I want to say it was in the Galapagos, and they nearly wiped out the whole island, destroyed the whole island. They left the island on fire, and this is something that's well documented in history. You can go and read about it. They left the whole island on fire. And yes, the captain of the ship was upset, but he wasn't upset because of what the atrocities and terrorism they had committed on the island. Not only did they leave the island on fire, they almost they essentially made all of the animals on the island. They it basically pushed them to extinction. The Galapagos turtles, and they have done this everywhere. Throughout everywhere that they have went. If you think about all the animals that are on the endangered species and life forms in general are the endangered species now, it's mostly due to them. The dodo bird, um, just all the animals right now that's on the endangered species list. And that goes to show like how terrible their connection is with nature because they view nature as objects, to be manipulated, controlled, whatnot, and what forth.
Well, I would argue with you. I agree. I'm 80%, what 90% of what you said, but I wouldn't say that they view nature that way. I would say that they view nature as an enemy, from my view, and I could be wrong, but
Yes, yeah, that's correct. I could agree. I will agree with that.
yeah, nature looks like something like they're afraid of it,
They're
Yeah,
fighting it all the time.
fighting it. Yes.
They
yeah.
don't work with it. I just looked that up. Thank you for bringing that up. 1820 fire on one of the main islands devastated the species. Those animals have been, I've visited there, believe it or not. Those animals, it's very difficult to get around because you have to go to each island to see the blue-footed booby or this particular turtle or this or that. So you have to, like, you can't just go one place and go, I'm there, and then walk around like most places. You have to get on a little ship to take you around. So these animals have been isolated and they don't have predators, and so they don't move. So when you go up to the seal, it's like, hey, what's the big deal? You you could touch it, but they don't let you. But one thing, they're very strict about what you do over there because of that, what he just described, because they've been so abusive to these animals and that environment. They're very hard on everything that you bring over there. They don't want you bringing any food or anything that could hurt the environment, and you can't touch anything. So they will let you walk. You can see the blue-footed booby, and you can see everything very close, but you can't touch anything. But guess who was over there stealing? What are they called? How can I forget? Iguanas. Guess who had a bunch of iguanas in their luggage?
Who?
Germans. They were
Wow.
trying to steal Galapagos iguanas.
Iguanas are surprisingly sweet. Momentarily, I'm gonna put pictures of gigantic iguanas I saw in Costa Rica, who would wait on us in the morning to wake up and follow us around and get banana peels. I didn't know they were friendly, and they were bigger than a poodle. They were gigantic. I heard a
I
funny.
can't
Go
I can't get friendly with reptiles. I tried, but no, it's not working out for me.
ahead. I heard something so funny on Joe Rogan today. I'm sorry, fair use. Joe Rogan was like talking about it was a Rockefeller, one of the elite family members. He said they went to where's the place, Wani? The island where they will behead you. I mean, with the headhunter island, doggone it, where they eat.
Is it
We've talked.
Papua New Guinea? Not Papua New
Not
Guinea.
New Guinea. That is it. That's it.
Or is it the Sentinel Island?
It was one of those. I want to say it was.
One is a headhunter and one is a bow and arrow in the forehead.
Okay, well, maybe you know the story. Well, one of the Rockefellers went to the island, and he's friendly with all of bringing money and stuff. And he went and he took something very sacred from the island, and he took something he wasn't supposed to take that was sacred. And he them people he came back to take some more stuff, and they killed him and they ate him. And and
Yep.
which was that Sentinel Island? Where was that?
I don't think so. Because we don't know what they do to you on Sentinel Island. We know they kill you, but we don't know if they drag you and they might eat you. I
Wow.
don't know because you're not going to get on there to find out because then you'll get eaten.
Sentinel Island is a big mystery, huh?
Yep, and it's going to stay that way.
Good.
Because people, the reason they're acting like that is because everywhere that those people went, people bothered them and invaded their lands.
Hmm.
So they said, we're going to get on this thing, and anybody who rolls up on it is going to get a bow and arrow in the head. So, okay, so the Papua New Guinea, there's a Englishman went over there, and he found some headhunters. He said, I'm going to, investigate them more. So he had his first initial meeting with them, and everything went well. He said they had a bunch of heads on a mantle of people that they killed, but they framed it like we killed them because they're our enemies. But then he went back to the UK. Then he said, I'm going to go back and do some more research with them. Never came back. His head's probably on the mantle now.
Yeah. 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 Yep. Um, Cash Gains. I hadn't seen you in forever. Where you been, man?
Hey,
Good to
Cash.
see you.
Peace, y'all. My bad if I missed the conversation so far, but I definitely want to hear what y'all's thoughts are on the title. And what's with the cat in the waterfall?
Man, we were walking in the Costa Rica. I went to the Costa Rican rainforest last in 2003 in December, and it was just a random kitty in the middle of the rainforest. I mean, he was deep in there too. We were like 12 miles in, and he was just there, just meowing at people, and we were like, "Kitty, why are you here?" What?
He thinks he's a leopard.
And Professor, you took the photos?
Yeah, those are my photos.
Hey, you ever heard of I don't know if you had a tripod or not, but the waterfall might have looked ill with like a slow shutter effect.
I didn't even
If you go
think
with
to
like
do
the
that.
yeah, it's a thing people always do with water. They do like a slow shutter. It creates this like ghost kind of like glow effect for water.
Dang, I have to keep that in mind. I didn't have a tripod, but Costa Rica was almost as gorgeous as, it's hard to say. West Africa is, I'm gonna say West Africa was the most beautiful place I've ever seen, but Costa Rica may have been a little bit more beautiful, but West Africa was just kind of exotic. It was different. It was like I never seen anything look like that. But Costa Rica was just big in your face and beautiful, just beautiful. Pura vida, pure life.
I put the article of the German tourist who tried to steal the iguanas. This happened a few months before I went over there, and they were still mad about it. That's the first thing they said. And they were, warning everybody, like, what am I going to look like shoving a bunch of iguanas in my luggage? I'm not German. That's things that they do. Why? Because to what I said, they can't just enjoy the iguana. They can't just do that. Hey, look at them. They're on a rock. They can't do it. They got to
Uh,
get all up in the iguana's face, take it home.
Stop.
It's ridiculous.
Mm.
Hey, y'all heard that?
And they play. Oh, go ahead, Cash. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Pablo Picasso. He's renowned as an artist and stuff for his abstract like style, but he was directly inspired by seeing stolen masks from the continent that were being sold in Europe. He was pretty much trying to paint African masks like in a new style, and he's renowned.
Hmm. Interesting. Never knew that.
Oh yeah. So earlier we were talking about slavery affecting gender roles. What we discussed earlier was something called zone of proximal development, which is environmental learning. And what I posited based on Vygotsky's zone of proximal development is on the fields of the fields of the plantations in America. Um, Masculinity was not it was disencouraged, um, and the lack of masculinity was encouraged. So, do you think, from my a couple of my years when I worked in corporate law, I saw that same trend playing out in the corporate world? Do y'all think that it's a the link between the how do I say this? The discouragement of black masculinity in the corporate world and the fields of the slavery fields of Chattel slavery, or am I reaching too hard?
Could you repeat that?
So, basically, it's kind of a hard thing to explain. So,
Masculation, bro. That's the word we've been using.
the
Masculation
yes, sir.
and microaggression.
The emasculation and the emasculation of the black male on on the fields of chattel slavery set a trend that I posit still exists in the corporate sector at work, right? I've seen black male masculinity be punished time and time again when I was in law school, when I was working in firms, in academia. Seemingly, when black males act proudly masculine, they seem to get in trouble, like myself. So I'm wondering, is there a link between that and this? Is there a link between the lack of black male masculinity?
Somewhat. Somewhat. We're dealing with a lot of layers, but one of the layers is we own you. How dare you
Mm.
do something to make us feel less than? There's an ownership that a lot of people have over us. We get to tell you what race you are. We get to tell you how you're supposed to act. You're not supposed to come off as attractive to our women. They're just all over the place. And it's everybody. Everybody's coming over to tell us what we are. So there's still residue from the fact that people view us as an enslaved people, even though we were the one of the greatest hero stories of our age. And they look up to us. People look up to us as underdogs. You can't help but root for the underdog because at some point in your life, you're going to be an underdog. So you can't help but to silently root for us. And of course, they overtly copy us. So we know they're looking. I think that, yeah, slavery does have something to do with it, but it's also just man on man intimidation.
So I'm overlooking it. Go ahead. Go ahead. That's probably it. Man on man and like intimidation because of black male masculinity. Go ahead, Cash Games. We'll go Cash,
Yeah, I
Kyrie,
was
and
gonna
then
say,
Black.
as a dancer, I kind of seen it in the entertainment industry in my own way. Like some of the earliest interviews I had as we went viral on YouTube as street dancers was like, don't you feel uncomfortable like explaining yourself as a dancer when most dancers are like the guys that wear tights and end up in ballet and stuff? And I was like, I didn't even think of that. You know what I mean? Like that was brought to me with a question. Like they were saying, like essentially they were saying, "Aren't you afraid you're gonna get called gay for being a dancer?" And I was like, "Huh?" I was like, hell nah, that's not something that even perpetuates within the street dance community. I didn't understand why they brought it up as a question. As well, when you get up to the higher levels and stuff, like I just recently filmed a Jason Derulo concert, T Pain, and all that, and I was there with the dancers to be clear. But you see how many white men who are gay are backstage and control the clothing, hair, makeup, and a whole lot of stuff. And if you try to say something like "I'm not comfortable doing this," like there's so many levels and I'm trying to use feminism as the critique here. Is really that uh, um, black masculinity is seen as patriarchy when they're not one and the same. And so anyone that tries to seem masculine or say something in the entertainment industry about how they want to be represented gets seen as homophobic, essentially. And I think that that's a detriment to I mean, not just free speech, but the identity and the representation of Black American men. I can mention Dave Chappelle not wanting to wear a dress, or Black men, constantly being portrayed in makeup and stuff like that. I think that that's done to make the white male gaze and the white female gaze more comfortable with us and make a joke of us instead of seeing us as a true threat, which their subconscious fear always speaks to.
Right on Cash Games. You're always on point. We're gonna go to Kyrie and then we go to Black. What's up, Kyrie?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing?
Doing well, bro. What's on your mind?
Hey, no, I just wanted to say, Wani, she hit it right on the head because, that is that how dare you attitude. And I remember Neely Fuller. He said this. I heard him say this years ago that in white supremacy, As a black person, you can't be an adult. They look at you as children. That's why they will call us boy and girl on a plantation, because to them, we are, in a childlike state. And that's why the Africans come over here and constantly tell us, or try to tell us who we are. And now they and white people are starting to understand that no, we're not listening to you anymore. We're naming ourselves. And I remember one space you guys said that that's the most powerful thing a people can do, is name themselves. I mean,
Yeah, yesterday we established that in the canon of Holy Bible, that's the power that God gave Adam, the power to name. When you name something, you define it. When you define it, you create the reality of it. Look at yeah, did y'all hear that Skip Gates is creating with Oxford University has created a black dictionary? Y'all know how dangerous that is? What is
You
Oxford?
mean with our language?
Yeah, it's a black dictionary for with Oxford. What does Oxford University have to do with a Black American dictionary? Like that, like they're portraying it
Cab,
at. Go ahead.
I was going to say Cab Calloway is the last person that I know that created a catalog and or dictionary of our terms, mostly leaning toward jazz terms and things like cool and all of the words that later became, you know, music genres.
I never knew that. I gotta buy that
Hidey,
dictionary.
hidey, hidey, hide.
Howdy, howdy,
Yeah,
howdy, hi.
that's a word.
Go ahead, the black.
Oh, what's going on, Professor? Warner, Nikki,
Mhm.
everybody else in the space. Man, this one of these conversations that you're gonna have to put your tinfoil kufi on, your Southern Bible stumping boots on, and some more things, cause it's one of them conversations you're gonna have to grab from all different sets and ideologies that we have within the black community. Cause I was listening to this episode of Code Switch last night, uh, created by PBS, and I was just going through a couple of the little articles they created since the election was over, and the most black centered conversations that they was having was mainly about what we talking about now, and it's an incredible journey how they kind of like been following the trends of what we've been doing, and then kind of trying to relabel it and find a way to subvert it, and like the brother I think Kyrie or Cass said, make it seem like it's homophobic or transphobic for uh black males to be represented properly or just as equal to regular, you know what I'm saying, white males. And because they started off as black men getting red pilled and making their own echo chambers and them leaning towards Trump. And then it journeyed towards like a black utopia, but they feel like trans rights and this people of color ideology might interfere with the black movement, so they gotta try to change the thought of black people when it comes down to the people of color and how males supposed to be like that what white people call toxic masculinity. So it's just funny. And then what Wani said about like the German people, and when you compare them to like our relationship with them throughout history, they they are the quote unquote like super smart people that make all these ideologies and theories, and they the scientists, the mad scientists in the corner who's been manipulated and switching histories. throughout time. So
Facts.
when you add that to what they do when they go to each country, and it's like how one said about the Batois and the other groups. They they cross borders, but people get mad at them. So, but these people are somewhat like in the opposite. They cross borders, but they cause the split in between people. So, you always have to have a scapegoat, and unfortunately, it's always the indigenous people, the original people, who are the scapegoats, and these people are the so-called intellectuals. So they always create and write the story and play the neutral role and blame the another group or transplanted group that they implant to keep the confusion going. And the way it's looking, we're putting the puzzle together, and at the end of the day, it's like it's unstoppable for us to actually go the way we have always been, because we have never let go of our traditions. We have just had infiltrators and people trying to input ideologies, but at the root, we always kept the same traditions and been the same. And being in these different spaces, it's basically like we've been living in the same households without even knowing it, spiritually and uh culturally, because just knowing that certain like tropes. That's why I'm starting to look at like different, what they call tropes or stereotypes, differently. Because yeah, I did grow up banking on the side of the TV when it messed up a little bit. I had some tinfoil on my antennas. I thought that was normal sometimes. And then just being in these other rooms, yeah, like that's what everybody else was doing. So it's like uh the way our minds have been trained to what's supposed to be normal and what customs supposed to be, and what we trying to change to be dignified people and upright and have to be involved in society. Like, we have always been an example because we took care of their children during slavery. So
Preach.
who are the true degenerates? We have always been like man, father, and child. I mean, father, wife, and child type of people. We have always been the village raise a child type of people. So it's like people have just been siphoning from us and relabeling it. And since we are actually claiming and naming it ourselves, it's causing destruction and distraction and all type of. We done threw a monkey in the tailpipe. We done put a banana in the tailpipe, and now they can't stop it. So now the car is breaking down, and don't nobody know how to fix their bucket in gangster thug terms.
Yeah, no cap. Now that we've
I haven't heard bucket in a
I hadn't
while.
heard bucket in so long. Go ahead, Cash.
I like the Reefer Man song by Cab Calloway. Hey, y'all know Each One Teach One is a principle that they speak a lot about in hip hop. Come to find out that that's actually a Black American principle that's happened ever since slavery. And it's on the Wikipedia, so a lot of people running into that and learning something new every day too. Uh, um, my dad told me, and I learned this also in a documentary called "The Journey of the African American Athlete." Right when slavery ended, we were the ones who disproportionately were advanced as far as education, as far as teaching the next generation, engineers, and so forth. And all of a sudden, you had to go through college and have a paper that said that you knew what you were doing. So that kind of kept us out as a generation, even though we were the ones disproportionately educated. Um, to the title, I have two examples of what I'd say are the worst things that happened to the Black American community because of the obfuscation of gender being a form of oppression over, uh, um, our lineage. I think the low hanging fruit one is affirmative action. The fact that uh, um, being being a woman means that you're of an oppressed gender allowed white women to be the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action because it's not specific to those who were oppressed for 250 years. It's for anyone who's oppressed in America. They're also the biggest opponents of it. And I come to find out that white men also benefit from affirmative action if they identify as a different sexual orientation, right? Just keep
Wow.
that in mind. And I just mentioned earlier how white men can look me in the face as a minority oppressed for 400 and say that I'm oppressing them, right? So there was a obfuscation that happened there as well. And the other example, so affirmative action is my first example slash DEI. The other example is misandry noir or whatever the word is where black men are being mistreated. You know what I'm saying, big words. But think about how many white women have taught black American men or miseducated them. Like we could talk about the Daughters of Confederacy or whatever, but you know, I don't mean to mention him, but Dr. Umar would always bring up, and so does the guy who writes a lot of books about us. Damn, I forget his name, but it's all about how they misclassify Black American men as exuberant and uncontrollable, and put us on perpetual drugs to keep us nullified, which might be stifling not just our athletic prowess, but also our mental acuity, and maybe even stifling humanity by by connection.
Real talk.
This
Go
is
ahead.
very interesting, Cash. Is it like with the ADHD drugs, like Ritalin? Because I remember when I was in school, they basically drugged every white boy that had a personality. I mean, before that, they were, pulling your pigtails, frogs down your underwear, that type of thing, and they drugged them. They were walking around in a daze, but they didn't do that to black children. So now I'm noticing that they are doing it to black children, and I'm wondering what that agenda is all about.
Yeah, as well as putting us in special ed, and even those who are not being drugged or placed in alternative placement, or misplaced in alternative placement,
Mm-hmm.
which might do something to their self esteem and psyche, or maybe even lower the access they have to information around
Preach.
them. I don't know. I'm off the top or whatever, but
No, you preaching. You're accurate.
I'm just saying, even the ones who are teaching us quote unquote regular folk are still teaching a misinformation campaign, where they tend to, uh, um, over accent white history and downplay something that their ancestors taught them to do, and they're doing either purposefully or subconsciously. But either way, there's a lot missing. Thank you guys for having these spaces to clarify and remind me. Shout out to the book They Were Her Property, which taught me specifically how black women were affected disproportionately when it came to an entire industry in chapter 5, where black women were traded for their breast milk essentially. uh, um, I mean, yeah, and medical apartheid, so on and so forth. But thank God for that book, because it reminded me that white women are not off the hook for slavery. They were still married to the men who were benefiting from our oppression. They were still marrying them in order to gain housing. They were still passing laws for treatment of enslaved folks and creating industries, like I said, to trade people's breast milk. So they ain't off the hook to me, never.
Hey, Professor, and wanted did y'all by chance get to watch that video I sent y'all? Cause it goes with this subject that we kind of talking about too. I tried to send it to you, Nikki, but every time I try to send you a message, it made me verify that I'm a real person. So
Why does it do that?
I don't know, but it be weird. Like when I be trying to send, like when I try to send Professor a message, it don't send. I have to like resend it. It did. It made me verify that I'm a real person. Like, come
I
on.
just followed you. I just followed you back, so you should be able to send anything now.
Oh yeah, if you're not
Okay.
following the person, if the person's not following you, it makes you jump through hoops.
Oh, okay, okay.
I hadn't had a chance to look at the video yet, but I'm gonna look at it in a moment. The black.
But yeah, to add to that, because if you notice, like the one thing they do try to demonize is their first campaign is the black male masculinity, and all of a sudden black males are raping people. Because, as Francis Cress Wilson say, that's the first thing that they think of is going to destroy the bloodline.
Yeah, he's right about that. Dr. Welson said that
Mm.
everything was created in diametric opposition to, what I'm saying, to us. And Dr. Wilson says that the fucking gun was created, and the handgun was created in diametric opposition to the black male's genitalia. It's so interesting, like when you look at when you analyze this, according to Dr. Wells, and I'm paraphrasing her, the European male discovered on some subconscious level discovered the danger of the black male genitalia or genetic material and created the firearm in diametric opposition. And Dr. Welson says that's why the firearm is referred to the great equalizer. Equalizing what? Equalizing the birth rate created by black male genitalia. Dr. Weldon looked at the shape of a gun. On some subconscious level, firearms are shaped. Handguns are shaped like a phallus. It's deep, man. It's we're dealing with subconscious action here. People aren't even aware of their bias. It's very dangerous. Wani said something so deep earlier today. I've been thinking about what you say, Wani. You were saying that um that group is threatened by threatened by us. God dang it, I can't think what you said, but it was so. I feel like writing down everything, half the stuff you say, but they're threatened by us um leaving or something. I don't know. I forgot how you put it, but
Hey,
go
professor,
ahead.
I definitely. I mean, it goes without needing to really preach to the choir, but they're definitely afraid of our athletic prowess. Again, back to that, the documentary is free on YouTube. The Journey of the African American Athlete. It said that the Kentucky Derby, which I kind of thought was like a driving race or something like NASCAR. I really didn't know shit about it, but
No.
it's
There's
horses, right?
horses.
It's
Yes.
horses. But of the first 16 Kentucky Derbies that existed, we won 12 of the 16 as caddies.
Wow.
Then they passed a law that we can't ride in horses anymore. We can only take care of them in the back, as we had for generations before, right? Because we knew those horses well. It mentioned boxing with Jack Johnson, the inventor, slash, I want to say humanitarian for letting the white folks win at the very end, but he definitely beat the ass in front of them a couple times, and he used to pay for the speeding ticket going there and coming back. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And invented the adjustable wrench. But they talk about how they segregated boxing, but would still pay to watch young black boys. And this is even during slavery. They would blindfold them and bet on who would be the last kid standing, and they would have to fight in like a battle royale. Jack Johnson came out of that uh, animalistic practice that white folks did against us, and still would knock them out when he got to take that blindfold off and look at them square in the eye, and even pay
Wait,
them $10,000 to do it.
they fought, wait, he was blindfolded fighting white men?
No, no,
And
he
little
grew
black
up
kids.
what white folks watching black boys blindfolded.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to blindfold them and just watch who would knock each other out. They would put them in a battle royale, 5 or 6 black boys, just to watch them knock each other out, blindfolded, like animals
No,
they are. But
no.
he came out of
It's
that.
Hey, what's crazy? That's why boxing is popular in Texas, and we have a lot of boxing gyms just because of it. And what's fascinating? James Brown was doing that too when he was young.
A
no.
baseball, the Negro leagues, like they were scared of the cheers that they heard, the chants that they heard from the crowd, and that's because they segregated baseball. They had my bad. They had a law saying you couldn't play baseball up into the 1940s, right? What's that about? Why are they so
Well, they
afraid?
have one white man on the Negro League, so that just goes to show you we can't have
Just
anything.
because they sports was
Get
boring.
out. We created those Negro Leagues out of nothing. Nothing. And the excitement around it drew some money, and then we had, uniforms and better equipment. But these things are born out of nothing, just raw talent and charisma. And those white boys across the way saw those balls flying out of those parks. They saw that. They heard people screaming versus their cornballs. Go look at some white athletes, if you want to call it that. Go look at their old 1800s boxing picture, and then go look at a black man in 1800s boxing. You, you're not even going to believe it. It's not even the same species. But back to that Kentucky Derby, once again, they treated the little black guys like, oh, you're just going to ride on the horse. You just clean the horse, you train the horse, and oh, by the way, get on it and ride. They didn't expect them to be heroes, but they became heroes by winning those initial Kentucky Derbies. We were killing them in that. And Jim Crow stepped in and made sure that they didn't get the accolades because they didn't expect that to become where the jockey is popular. It's just, they didn't expect that. Just like with the cowboy, they just thought he's just going to clean up after the cow. He's going to take care of cows. You can't make this glamorous. You can't make this athletic, but we did make it athletic and we did make it glamorous. And we are in the Hall of Fame because of that athleticism and that turning nothing but tending cows into something very special that everyone wants to copy off of from that area.
Yep.
So what's incredible about that and interesting since the jockeys was the first video recordings that they was doing of us, and it was the first industry they took away from us at the same time. So it's like, did they record us to study us, and then they came in and infiltrated and made laws to get us out the industry?
Ooh, you look yummy. Oh, yeah. The law, the legal system, has a long history of, being manipulated. So it's not surprising the black. Um,
Now, back to what we were saying about gender stuff. So, back in the day, almost everybody was married. I mean, you couldn't get through the biblical times without getting betrothed at 12 years old. Europe, but was married. Everybody. And so, with that kind of, um, expectation, people they knew their roles. You take care of the children, I go do this job, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the way it is now. That everything is flipped upside down. Everybody doesn't get married right away. So now you have a lot of bachelors out there. They have to know how to cook. They have to know how to wash their clothes. So who knows when they're going to get married? Got a lot of women out there that are single. They have to learn how to use power tools. They can't wait around for someone to hang up the curtains. So now we have to do all these things, but it's based on the fact that the way society is, people are not getting married very early, if at all. And that's just unfortunate. That's just a Western trend to get married later and then not at all. And I really don't know where this is headed. It's definitely not headed to people having children and families.
yeah. That's very fascinating because that same trend is affecting Japan right now. I'm trying to understand what is it about Western society that is anti, you know, children. Like, what do you know anything about that, Wani? Why are they anti? Why?
Well,
Go
let's
ahead.
look at the Greco-Roman Empire. How are they were anti everything. What they were doing is they keep the women, the good women, tucked up inside. You go inside, okay, and take the kids with you. And then we'll be outside with the, ladies of the night. And so they've always suppressed their behavior is to suppress women and keep children out of the way. Children should be seen and not heard. They don't like to interact with their children that much. In fact, they sold them a lot to, those philosophers. Uh, what was that all about? Here, take my child and have sex with him, and he's going to be your mentor. That's institutionalized. into the society as being okay. They have not treated children well. They don't know how to do it. And now we had this long period of children's rights, and children should be seen and heard. And then now we're back to railroading them into changing their gender and being abusive to them again.
Wow.
So they seem to just be on a, they don't like children, and they don't like the opposite sex. Okay. And they don't like men being masculine that challenge them. There's no amount of oppression you can put on a black man that's going to make a white man look masculine. It, like I said, it's another species.
What's very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, what our sister Wani brought up, I thought I heard the Greco-Roman Empire, and one of my um, objectives is to look at origins of behavior, origins of, um, you know what I'm saying, what did Professor James Small say? He said, history will erase the mystery. Well, if you look at the Greco-Roman Empire, the myth of Rome that nobody teaches is that Rome was created by the story of Romulus and Remus. Anybody know that story? Well, if you look at the story of,
Yes.
come on, Wani, educators.
No, no, you do it.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong because I'm going off the top of my head. I left that scholarship on in a bookshelf. Um, I didn't bring that one with me, but Romulus and Remus were two brothers who were banished. Where were they banished from? I don't know. Were they banished from Africa? Who knows? But nonetheless, they were banished. And Romulus and Remus, one of them died. Which one died, Wani? Was it Romulus or Remus?
I'm not sure. I just know about them being
By a
suckled by a
wolf.
wolf.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were suckled by. They were abandoned. The children were abandoned by their family, and they were suckled by a wolf, which is why they say dog is man's best friend. Well, one of the brothers died, and let's just say Remus died. Well, Romulus went to go found Rome, the city of Rome. Um, Romulus and Remus were banned, allegedly banned from wherever they were kicked from because of their lifestyle habits. They had practices of that were unacceptable. Y'all got to read between the lines on this one. Well, anyway, when Rome was created and founded by, I think, Romulus, or maybe it was Remus, and he named it after his brother Rom. It was Rome. Um, and when Rome was founded, it was a cult. The Rome was created with a culture, the same culture of Romulus and Remus, where women were only considered as tools to procreate. They were not objects of sexual desire. Again, y'all read between the lines on what I'm saying. And men were considered objects of sexual desire. Well, at some point, what the culture of Rome would do would go to villages to raid the villages and steal the men and steal women to procreate with, only for procreation. Well, at some point, according to academic canon, women got fed up and um, repeated this cycle on an island. Do you know the name of the island, Wani?
Lesbos.
I thought this was all myth, y'all, and I went on Google Maps and I found the island of Lesbos. It's there. There's an island of Lesbos. There really is.
Did you know that immigrants burnt the whole island down because they sailed up on it and then demanded resources, and it took the UN a while to get over there, but while they were waiting, they raped and attacked and murdered the residents because over there they kind of have the doors open. They're not used to a lot of, that's not the most popular island to visit, but it is a Greek island.
Yeah, real
Yeah,
stuff.
Lesbos.
And that's where the women would go have their parties while the men had their parties in Rome. Read them.
How do you have a party with a bunch of women?
Look at the name of the island, Wani.
Nope.
And like we said yesterday, that there's significance in the name. The island of Lesbos.
So,
Yeah, I heard about that island. They said that they only had sex to procreate, but men stayed with men recreationally the entire time or some shit. Hell no.
Yeah.
Hey, but
Mm,
imagine you was born on that island as a
oh boy.
heterosexual. That's probably how gay people feel, right?
Yikes.
Yeah, that's called torture.
Okay, so this is why I don't agree with Romulus and Remus's story. Okay, I have a problem with it. You know, I like proving that myths are real,
Okay.
and a lot of them are. This is my issue. If they were given to a wolf as infants, they wouldn't be human. They would be barking and baying at the moon.
Good point. I never thought about that, but that's scientifically sound. Well,
What about the
one.
Whitakers in
What is it?
in Virginia? They barks like dogs, but they human.
Okay,
Nah, bro. Hold up.
what did you say?
What
Wait, I
about
missed it.
badgers? Badgers actually build walls and shit. They must have been raised by badgers.
No, the white people, the Whitakers, they be the white dude. They be talking like the dog. I'm gonna put the video in the
What
Jumbo
happened? Did
chat.
he get raised by a dog?
No, he raised by other little inbred people.
That's not the same thing. No, we're
Oh
okay.
But
Lord.
he speak
We're
to
talking
dogs.
about
He speak to them the
no,
dog.
well, I can talk to pets too, but no, what I'm saying is that if I was left out in the woods and I never learned to speak, say my mother was like, "Oh, let me put you down on the jungle floor. Got to go get something," and then forgot where I was. And if some monkeys came by and said, "We'll take this little primate and teach it how to eat," I won't know how to talk. I won't be human anymore. I'll be a primate, and I won't. That's really an interesting thing. What is a human? Because if I'm raised by a dog, which happens a lot in the Ukraine because the parents are drunk and stray dogs are running around, and the stray dog comes
Facts.
in the house and says, "Hey, you're the king of the pack because you toddler, 3 year old, you can open the refrigerator and get stuff out." So they make the toddler the king of the pack. Now, unfortunately, these toddlers, they're being neglected by their parents, so the parents aren't sitting there doing alphabets with them or anything or putting them in preschool. So now the dog is raising them, and they can't talk. They
That's
bark.
terrible.
They run on the ground. They run on their knees. There's a woman over there right now. I think she's in her 30s by now. She can't talk. She
Mm.
barks. She runs around in the on the grass, and that's what she wants to do. I've studied this, and these people, we're not rescuing them. They want to shimmy up a tree. They find their relatives. Some people live near jungles. They found this woman after 30 years. They put her in the bed. They said, "Oh, this is my long lost daughter." And she got lost in the jungle. This was in Asia. I can't remember the country. And she just,
I know the
she
story.
laid in the bed a while and then took off right back into the jungle to shimmy up a tree and get some fruit, mind her own business. This is what they want to do. They can't help it. They've already been acclimated to being that species, and that's what they are. And that's what's so weird about that situation. It really makes you wonder, what is a human?
I mean, can't you teach them because they still like
No.
similar, like Tarzan.
Mm-mm.
When
Nope.
James
You can't.
James how
The
Tarzan
only way it
works.
works The only way it works is if there was a case of an African boy. He ran into the jungle when he was 4 years old. He was able to talk already. So when they finally found him, he was able to get most of his speech back. They just had to teach him. But if you don't learn how to speak, but with a human, that's why your interactions with your children from birth to 5 years old, it is
Zero,
incredibly
0 to 5
important,
is critical. I was
critical.
when I moved to Memphis, I taught kindergarten. I taught early childhood. It was the only job I could find, and I learned a lot because I taught at a private school. And we had a little boy come from China. His parents were on the run because his mom was over limit for babies. She had 3 babies when the limit was 2, and She didn't want to come up missing, so she came to Memphis. But long story short, um, this little boy was in my class. He was 4 years old, and he spoke nothing but Chinese, not a lick of English. In 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, he was speaking conversational English. In a month, he was fluent English. That's how powerful your brain is from 0 to 5. Your brain is like supercharged to learn. Like it's a sponge just sucking up information. And a brain's like a computer, garbage in, garbage out. If you're training a child from 0 to 5 with garbage, you're really there. There's some thought in developmental psychology that from age 0 to 5 is when you're programming a child's personality. You're telling him or her who he or she is. You know what I'm saying? If you keep saying, sit down, you stupid idiot, you know what I'm saying? From 0 to 5, you just created something. You know what I'm saying? So if any of y'all got a 0 to 5, y'all better be imbuing that child with confidence and pride and self-worth. Very powerful age time for developmental psychology. Mr. X, what's on your mind?
I just wanted to add on to the similarities or like the adopted traits that some people get from animals.
Okay.
Um, did you know that there is a disease in the Caucasus region called Uniter syndrome? It's where people have reverted to walking on all fours. And it's in Turkey. And there are a group of people who inbreed, and some people say that it's causing them to uh, regress or devolve. And there is another disease called hypertrichosis, where hair grows all over the body. Another name for it is werewolf syndrome, and that's it.
Yeah, I've seen all of those.
I've got to look that first one up with the say the name of it again.
Unner-Tan syndrome,
U- Unnertan.
Unertan syndrome.
Thank you.
And nobody knows what causes it. Is it genetic?
There are a whole bunch of inbred families.
Wow.
So I'm sure that's one of the main reasons. But yeah, they walk on all fours. There's a documentary about it too, so you can watch that. It's on YouTube. It's free.
It's interesting that they've reverted to walking on all fours. That's scary.
Very square.
Could indicate some previous walking on all fours syndromes from them. I never walked on all fours.
Mm-mm. Very interesting. Very fascinating.
That doesn't run in my bloodline.
Mine either, one.
Hint, hint.
Yo, it's an Asian dude trying to set a world record for running on all fours, and it looks ridiculous. It's just like I'm like I don't think we would ever even get into whatever this is. Like I'd rather cartwheel like type shit.
Yeah, walking on all fours doesn't sound appealing.
That's why I say sometimes we do have to put on our tinfoil kufi. Cause look, what if follow me here? Well, what if an African did go into Asia and before he got stuck in the Caucasus and end up mating with, you know what I'm saying, some Asian monkeys.
Ooh.
Asian monkeys.
Yeah. And then they got stuck, their little family got stuck in the Caucasus during the Ice Age. And we have our white brethren.
Well, that's not going to work because human sperm and monkey DNA or ape DNA won't vibe like the code sequence. They won't
Are we
come together.
sure? Because they
That's what
do
I'm
have
told. That's
Hey,
white people
word
do
up
have
though. Like,
ape DNA in them.
mm.
yo, dude from the Jungle Book, Mowgli. Like, what language did he speak? You know what I'm saying? What language did Tarzan speak? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at the Wikipedia for feral children.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't believe what name popped up. There's Amala and Kamala of the 1920s who were in India that was raised by a wolf family.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala was raised by a wolf family.
Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar.
Wow.
And then we
That's
do
crazy.
know these people have a history with sleeping with animals and experimenting with trying to breed with them. Cause how do we know that you can procreate with a goat? And
Uh-oh.
And have we ever and yo, on some real shit, like what Black just said, have we ever thought about like the mythology of a centaur or a tauren? The have
Mm-hmm.
man, have bull, have man, have
Mm-hmm.
horse.
man, I used
Isn't
to
that
love
crazy?
Xena and Hercules. That
I
little
used to play
TV
World of
show.
Warcraft with my uncle.
Xena, warrior princess.
Man, yeah, they had a lot of them. And when you look at them old maps, I mean, these people' imagination couldn't have just been this far out when you think about it. And they,
Looks like they spliced some stuff together.
yeah, and then these people are described in the Bible too. So I mean, hey, it's a reason why we have bestiality laws.
So my
Freaky, freaky.
question is, that these centaurs, how come you don't ever see any women centaurs with hooters bouncing all over on their horse bodies?
Maybe
Anybody
they were
knows?
fetishizers just like the black man. Hold on. Professor, talk to him. I don't
That's
know.
Well,
I don't
who made them?
I have nothing.
I mean,
Who made the
knowing that these people
centaurs?
are anti-women.
Where did they come out of?
I mean, knowing that these
Whoa.
people are anti-women, I mean, they might slaughter the females like they do in
Oh my
India.
God, they slaughtered a female centaur?
Because
Gross.
they culture is mainly having a male child or male heir. So they in India they if you have a
Did she wear? Would you think she would wear a bra with a horse body?
I don't know. That's something to think about. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey,
Are they on her chest or are they on her like her
I
dorsal? Are
don't
they on the lower or
know.
what's going
I'm
on?
not
Oh,
I'm gonna have to
sure.
go
Lord
watch
have
some
mercy.
old episodes of Xena the Warrior
yeah, because the
Princess.
torso is kind of like their neck.
Yeah, it's gonna be tricky.
Hey, you remember the goat, half man, half goat from Hercules?
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, Hercules,
Yo, even in the
like,
Book of Narnia, remember it, little dude?
yeah, little ass.
Yeah,
Hey, why he
the
ain't
Book of
have
Narnia.
four goat legs? I never understood that. Like, why just two? Like, goats ain't got two legs.
And then when you think about Lord of the Rings, like these little characters and weird little species
The gnomes and the dwarves, brother.
gotta be.
Yeah, the pygmies, like Wani was saying the other day. Yeah, and happy birthday. I messaged you, Wani, but I don't like.
Thank you.
Man. So happy birthday. I just want to say that now. So yeah,
Thank
it's not
you.
even belated because I already told you.
All right,
I love you and I love Fred. I love Nikki and I love you.
we're gonna go to Detroit, and last words go to Sotar. Go ahead, Detroit.
Thank you, Professor. Appreciate it. How you doing, Nikki the God? Happy belated birthday, Wani. Professor, I want to reel the question back to what you were talking about earlier. My question to child development. Are you familiar? If you could, are you familiar with women giving birth with the help of dolphins makes the children even smarter? Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't, but I believe it. Dolphins are incredibly intelligent. That makes sense, but could you explain it to us, educate us?
I saw a video a while back and the women were giving birth in the water and they said something about only rich people or people with money can get done. They'll go to a swimming pool area and the child when the mother's ready to give birth, the dolphins will kind of like surround the mother and help. They'll act as those those mothers that
Like
Midwives.
a midwife
yeah,
thing,
they
like a
kind of
Wow.
act like
midwife.
that. They send signals and then they say that the children who are born like that are exceptionally smart, like above average.
That's amazing. I'm gonna look that up later on tonight.
And remember to play classical music to your wife's stomach.
Will do.
It
I will. Thank
Hey,
you.
Wani, I will do real soon.
Dang, you
Wait,
better get
wait,
off,
not
Professor. My
Nah.
bad.
Wani.
I was watching college football, brother. My bad. I'm missing. I'm on the tail end. But also, like brother said, the dolphins and also orca whales as well. They save humans all the time in the ocean.
So are they
You can
mermaids?
Just
also
trying to throw
say,
that in.
Are
hmm?
they mermaids?
Which ones?
The dolphin babies.
Oh boy.
Bro, it's we mermaids, bro, being born underwater and all
It's
that.
we mermaid.
I think those water births are very nice. They look more tranquil than the stark light that I came out in. A bright light shining on me, spanked when I wasn't even doing anything. That doesn't sound nice.
No. Dr. Laila Africa used to be an intelligence officer, a psychological warfare officer. I think he was in the army, and he argued that all that's against nature. You're not supposed to spank a child. You're supposed to, when the child's born, you're supposed to put it on the mama's stomach with the umbilical cord attached, so the child can reacclimate to the beat of her heart,
That
and
connection outside of the womb, that's crazy. I
that's
never
it.
thought about that, brother.
Man, when I find,
Whoa.
I swear, I've been looking. I've actually been looking for it, and the moment I find it, I'm gonna host a space on it because Laila went in. He said that he argued that it's intentional that they cut the umbilical cord and they take the baby. The first thing they do is take the baby away from the mama
Put them
in the
in the
incubator.
little
Hello.
Yes,
thing. Oh,
sir.
Now we're right back to not wanting to bond
There it
again.
is. And Laila said,
one more
"Go
thing,
ahead."
Professor. Like you had the father, like my mother and father have been married multiple like decades, multiple decades, damn near 30 years. But my father works for the light company. My mother works in the medical field. It's all separate. It's like it's a disconnect from the family home. It's the man, woman, and child. And when we got home, everybody was stressed out and stuff, but we still made it work. It was fine, and they didn't get a divorce. But hey, I heard a lot of arguments. You know what I'm saying? But it's all a part of the program, like I think you're saying, Professor. I just wanted to put my
Yeah,
2 cents
yeah.
in.
I promise I'm gonna host a space once I find. I'm looking for the video where Laila talks about that, and he says they take the baby and put it in the incubator to separate the baby, like Wani was saying, away from the mother and create alienation and bond the baby with the damn system. And then when the baby gets old enough, what do you give them? An iPad. You're bonding them with computers. So Tar, you got last words.
Yeah, I was gonna say a few things about the baseball y'all brought up and the athletes and the Greco-Roman Empire. You said about how they sacrificed their children to the philosophers. That's like what they do in Hollywood with child actors and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yo, this I guess is more for Wani and some of the guys that are talking. You all have to fucking watch a movie called Troll Hunter. It's like a documentary type deal, but it's like it's in the what do you call, I love these movies in different languages and you have to read them. What do
Troll
you call 'em?
Hunter.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah,
subtitles.
yeah,
Yeah,
Hmm.
subtitles.
it's in
Yeah.
like Finnish or Norwegian. I think
Oh,
Norwegian.
really?
It's like real shit, and it deals with how like trolls they hated Christians. So one boy he's saying I'm not a Christian, and one of the troll guys said, okay, well you can come to the case. We got to kill him, and the troll smelt the Christian, and he was like, I was lying. I didn't think it was something happened. You guys, it's troll. I'm serious. If I could find it, I'll send it to you all individually. Like at least professor, then you disseminate it. Professor, you want you disseminate it. But yeah, it's in Norwegian or Finnish or
Yeah, send it to me.
oh my god,
I like foreign films and I
Oh,
don't mind.
I
dude,
found
it's
it.
the shit. It's
Hey,
the shit.
in 2010,
Yes, dude.
like the with the
Yo,
Giants. Are they
yeah,
Giants
dude,
or
it's the
something?
shit, man. You gotta watch it because they kept trying to say it was these bears killing all these people, but yet, you know how bears attack. Bears don't attack like trolls and shit. You know, I'm just saying because trolls are like humans with their bodies. So yeah, you gotta watch that. And Wani, you gotta watch Lioness too. That lady, that black lady in Lioness, that's
Lioness.
you. Yeah, that's you. If you seen Lioness, you know that's Wani.
Is
Like
she
the lady,
telling off some Africans that are nasty?
well, she pays people. She has all these people kill everybody. She's the head of the CIA Special Operations
What? I
things.
don't do all that.
Yeah, well, you got the presence. But I'm just saying, you just gotta. There's the lady who thinks she's black, but she's like a Latina. But she is black, but she's black when it's convenient. I forget her name. She played in Guardians of the Galaxy, that
There's
green
so
lady.
many of
Oh,
them.
Zoe
Zoe
Saldana.
Saldana. Yeah,
Zoe.
Zoe, she's the
Yeah,
main
Zoe.
one.
Yeah, she's decent.
my
But
man.
anyway, I'm saying Troll Hunter.
My
Watch
man,
that.
my man said black when it's convenient.
Yeah, when it's
Yep,
convenient, she's a nigga. But
exactly.
when it's not,
She
she's a
said she
chameleon.
wasn't again. Is she back to being black again? Or
Oh Lord.
Yeah, something happened a
remember,
few months ago. But
Nah, she's in a
Iridiselba
movie
said,
playing a Latina, speaking all Spanish, ain't she?
okay, that's good. Stay over there in your lane. Iridiselba said he was no longer
Oh
black,
Lord.
so I don't know what he's gonna play.
Oh yeah, Idris Elba trying to be the next Denzel. Man, he
I
can't do
thought
it
Right,
we
like
called her
right.
us. I mean, he
Colombiana
cool and
anyway.
all, but
We
shit, nigga,
pantsed
watch
him. We
out.
pantsed him.
Well,
Hey.
ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed you tonight. We will pick this back up tomorrow. Wink, wink, nod, nod. I know it's coming.
Hey yo, Professor, can brother confirm the Troll Hunter? I posted it in the purple pill. I was just making sure that was the
Okay.
right movie. I kind of screenshotted it on
Yeah, go
my
ahead and
my Mac
confirm it.
real quick. Yeah, brother, the Troll Hunter movie, was that the one you were talking about? Made in 2010?
Yeah, he said
It's in
in
the purple
Norway, if
pill.
you can't pronounce the director's name, that's how you know. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I mean, if you would look real quick in the purple pill in the comments, you know what I'm saying? So everybody will
We'll
know,
find
like
it.
for future reference. Okay,
Thank
my bad.
you. Thanks,
I
Harley.
was turned up watching football. My bad, guys.
Well,
I love
guys,
y'all.
we'll pick this back up tomorrow. I enjoyed y'all. I learned a lot. And till then, Wanda, you got any last words?
Good night.
All right. See y'all later. Peace out.